Welcome to Housing Developments.
I'm Jim Tobin.
And I'm Paul Lopez.
Hey, we're in the studio?
In studio, in person,
nice.
and with news.
I know. It's been a pretty eventful week, right?
Yeah. Okay, but let me ask you, do we bury the lead and start chronologically, or do we go with the hot topic?
I think we go with the hot topic. But before we do, let's talk about our sponsor and thank our sponsor, LG Pro Builder. Let's build a good life together. Thanks for being part of the podcast and helping us do what we do. So,
all right. So drum roll. What's the latest that people already know about?
2:00 today, the Federal Reserve announced a 50 basis point cut in the federal funds rate. Yeah. I mean, a lot of people, obviously we knew it was coming.
Yep.
I mean, the issue was how big, 50 or 25.
The money was on 25.
It was, yeah. That's what I would have said too. And they surprised with 50.
So what do you think that means? Well, I mean, get us into the mindset of the Fed.
Well, Chair Powell said, their twin mandate of keeping inflation at 2% and full employment, and obviously they feel they've got inflation under control, and now they're going to pivot to keeping unemployment or full employment where it is, because obviously unemployment is ticked up, and the labor market has weakened enough for them to have to take a pretty big whack. Some people read it as, they waited way too long, and now this is way too cool. And there'll be a handful of people that say, well, maybe the recession is impending or pending, but I think they probably are trying to play catch up. Maybe they're behind a meeting. Yeah,
and well, the interesting part is that despite them going 50 basis points, now the money has changed to the next rate cut at the end of the year will be another 50 basis points. According to Rob.
Yeah, isn't there one more meeting? I thought there are 2 meetings left in the year, right? And so they could do 25. Yeah, but they're certainly talking like it, maybe they cool off in the October meeting.
Yeah, I don't know.
But pretty interesting to me. But I mean, obviously, I've been more interested. We've talked on the pod several times now about the impact on the presidential race.
Let's talk about that.
Vice President Harris hang the Mission Accomplished banner, and Bidenomics works and Harrisnomics works, whatever they call it.
Right.
Does Trump lose his mind and say you've taken away my most potent argument? Even money is everybody takes a little victory lap here, but Trump, I think, could say because of inflation, the tightening they've gone too far. Now they're playing catch up
because acting over this,
right? And now they risk high unemployment.
Yeah.
So I think he can play it a little cooler.
Right.
She's gonna. My guess is the vice president says, hey, mission not accomplished, long way to go in the fight against inflation and getting economic growth. But this is a good sign, right?
Right.
But still surprised a little bit. But I think the Fed was up the back was against the wall. It looked like they all 11 voted for 50%, 50 basis points, and one abstained because he wanted 25. So interesting, but big news.
Yeah, I mean, they were kind of in a damned if you do, damned if you don't, right? Because everybody was forecasting the cut.
Right.
So if they didn't, then they would look political, right? And that was kind of a really weird position for them to be in, and sets a terrible precedent, right?
Oh yeah, agreed. I think we need to make sure the Fed remains independent of political whims. Despite what former President Trump says about having more control over the Federal Reserve and rates, I get where he's coming from, of course. But nonetheless, it's good. The Fed should continue to be independent, but this is a good sign for housing, right? And we've talked a lot about. We'll talk about some of the other economic data from the earlier part of the week, but what we will see in almost a 1-for-1 correlation is now the drop in A, D, and C lending,
right?
And that I think is really important. If we are going to meet, the demand that we expect is right around the corner.
Yeah,
we need those lending rates to get lower fast, so that our members do feel comfortable, not only with the pace of construction, be able to finance the pace of construction.
Right. No, absolutely. I mean, on the consumer side, the refinancing world, they've been going gangbusters, right? I think they're refinancing like crazy looking at this. Now I think, and we've talked about this in the podcast before, is a lot of those fence sitters, and I know that it's on the consumer side, it's not a 1-to-1 correlation, but those rates should be dropping down.
Right.
And a lot of new homes are going to be looking pretty nice right now.
Yeah, no, that's right. And I think as the existing market starts to come back, right, we'll start to see that competition. Rob talked about it last week about the competition that we're going to have in the new home market, we've made up an oversized portion of the for sale market that will cool a little bit, but that's okay.
Right. That's what we want.
We want to get back to that growth. You know, Rob is forecasting about 1.1 million single family starts next year.
Yeah.
So this should jumpstart that. I think it's good news for housing. I think
absolutely, and it'll make your job easier as you travel across the country.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I mean, and Rob, let's give Rob a little kudos. He was right. They thought there were going to be cuts at the end of the year. Got a little shaky in the beginning, right? Remember those weeks there? But no, he was right. And I saw that the Fed also pretty much said that they think they'll get back to their neutral rate, which is at 2.5% roughly in 2026. Again, what Rob was saying is that's where we're really going to see when rates settle into where the future is.
So, I mean, we couldn't have set this up better because it just falls. All the numbers this week fell in line, right? Started off with our own, the Wells Fargo NHB Housing Market Index,
right,
up 2 points, right, to 41,
right,
still negative-ish.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, still way negative. I mean,
but the good news is that the segment for future sales, they ticked up positive.
That's right.
Right, for the first time I think in like 6 months.
Right.
So that's good, and all the sectors moved up, all the indices moved up as well. So our builders are already kind of sensing that things are starting to improve.
Yeah, it makes you wonder if the next HMI is really going to see that big leap. We certainly will get closer to 50, but obviously reflecting the lower interest rates we saw in this last survey cycle.
Right.
Rates have dropped a half percentage point. Mortgage rates have dropped half percentage point in the last month or 6 weeks.
Yeah.
I think people are going to decide that you can't, hopefully people are going to decide you can't time the market, but you can make your best guess. And we're getting to that point, I think. So
yeah, we're definitely in that comfort level, far deeper into that comfort level than we have been in a really long time.
Yeah. And it'll be bumpy, right? Sure. We'll see, up and down here, but we're trending in the right direction. As long as that kind of that long-term curve looks like the rates are coming to the right conclusion here, I think is good.
And then next day we had both starts and permits.
Right.
Gangbusters overall up 9.6% in August.
Yeah, that's right.
Again, I didn't see a whole lot of downside in the numbers that came out.
No,
sorry, go ahead.
No, yeah, I was gonna say we knew the last numbers were kind of low, maybe even abnormally low.
Little.
But again, tracking with what our builders are telling us with HMI, and that's always gratifying to see that the starts and permit numbers track that. And so I'm not really surprised when we saw an uptick. I think they're 1.3 million single family units seems kind of high for Rob's forecast, but that'll smooth out over the course of the year.
1.3 was total.
Yeah.
992,000 for single family, which is a 15%, over 15%, which is crazy.
Yeah.
So I know 1 month doesn't make a trend, but the fact that we had these strong of numbers before the Fed rate cut, really kind of tells you that I think that the mindset is really kind of sinking in there.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah. So good news, right? We keep talking about this arc of the next few years is going to be great for us. And I think maybe we're seeing the beginning of that.
Right. And so let's bring it back to where we started with the political side of things. So great overall housing start numbers, again, not a trend per se, but looking mighty strong. Does the narrative change for us as we continue to, reach out to the different candidates, the two candidates? What's our messaging here as we go up on Capitol Hill?
Yeah, the messaging is keep talking about housing, right? Yep. That's what we want to see and hear. But I think the macro economy is starting to right itself. And so now is the time for lawmakers, whether at the federal level, state or local level, to jump on the housing bandwagon and get ready for that growth. This is the year where you want to start to pivot and lay the groundwork. And that could be by removing the regulatory barriers to more land development, making sure that if you're at the federal level, you're trying to do away with tariffs. Both candidates talk a lot about tariffs. We don't need that right now. We need to make sure that we have access to all markets, whether foreign or domestic, in order to make sure that we're bringing in affordable building materials. So now's the time that everybody should be looking to protect and enhance the growth potential in housing over these next several months in order to prepare us for the next couple of years. The labor market, we talk a lot about that. Whether it's immigration reform or whether it's just training, all of these things, they all stack on top of each other, that we're not going to be able to accomplish our mission of building more attainable housing for opportunities for everyone if we don't have help from our government. And so the more we talk about it, the more we can get into the mindset let us all be partners in this.
Yeah. Does it concern you? Not concern, that's too strong of a word, but is it weird to you that Trump has not fleshed out a greater housing policy than he has?
No, I wish he would.
Yeah.
Let me say that. I wish he would. For only other reason than I'm a policy guy at heart. I like to see that stuff. I like to be able to comment on it. And I like, as much as we talk to the campaigns and offer suggestions. And I think his message is so high level. And that's what's always made him, a great communicator for the people that love Donald Trump. Right. Sure. But people don't like Donald Trump. He cuts to the quick, and it's just high level stuff without a lot of details. He gets criticized for that, but he's going to talk about a housing market and opportunities for people. And how do we accomplish that? The devil's in the details, right? And does anybody vote on the details? No, they vote on where they think this person is going to be the right person to shepherd the economy, but overall. Yeah. Right. So again, not surprised, but just because I think he's got a lot to offer, right? I mean, he had a lot of successes in the housing space in the first term. He's obviously a home builder, an apartment builder, a building builder. So he knows this world. So that I just like to see him talk more about it.
And then outside of the presidential races, are there any kind of Senate races or House seats that we're looking at that can really kind of change things to one side or the other?
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly the Senate. I continue to believe the House is going to flip from Republican control to Democratic control. Right. We've talked about that at various points. I think the Senate races for our members to watch. West Virginia is a foregone conclusion. Yeah. Joe Manchin has dropped out and is going to retire at the end of his term this year or next year, and Jim Justice, the sitting governor, he's going to win going away. So that now puts the Senate at 50-50. And then the next other race we're all watching is in Montana. I think that's highly likely that race flips. Current Democratic Senator John Tester. I just don't think he can overcome a good candidate out there in Tim Sheehy, but importantly, a big Trump win in Montana. Right. It's going to be hard to find all of those voters across go Republican for Trump and Democrat for John Tester. Not saying it couldn't get done. I think Tester's been a great senator for Montana. But I just think that the headwinds might be too much for him. So now you're looking when you take the West Virginia seat and now Montana, you're looking at 51 seats for Republicans. Right. The other ones to watch for is Ohio next. Can Sherrod Brown, again, sitting Democratic senator, overcome? Trump's going to win by 6 or 7 points. Right. He can do it. I mean, if anybody can do it, it's Sherrod Brown.
Yeah, that man has a second life.
Yeah, and then I'll watch Pennsylvania. But Bob Casey, again, sitting Democratic senator, he's got there's a good family brand of the Caseys in Pennsylvania. Even if Trump wins Pennsylvania, it's going to be by a little bit. But Casey probably holds on. I'm not so sure about that one.
Something we haven't talked about this election cycle is coattails. Like, do either presidential candidate have the coattails to bring, like Georgia, right? Georgia's kind of iffy. North Carolina. I mean, there's, and then we talked about all the swing states where it's nominal. Is she doing well enough? At least now, Lord knows what the polls will look like, 2 weeks, 2 months from now. Yep. But do either candidate have the coattails to bring kind of that kind of on the edge kind of candidate with them? Yeah,
I mean, you could see in Nevada that if Nevada's been reliably blue for the last several cycles, if the vice president wins there, certainly could help Jackie Rosen. That race is close, but again, she's probably Jackie Rosen's favored there. Arizona will be another one. Carrie Lake, the Republican Senate candidate, probably not the strongest candidate. Ruben Gallego, but Ruben Gallego's super left, where you had Kirsten Sinema, you have Senator Kelly now, John McCain, like traditionally centrists. Yeah. He's not a centrist. Right. Carrie Lake's not a centrist either. So that one I'm interested in. If Trump, because he re-wins Arizona, can he bring Carrie Lake along? I don't know. She's got a tough brand out there. But
already lost for governor. Right?
Yeah, right. So she's run statewide and, like you said, lost. So, but I think other than that, Pennsylvania, I think if Harris wins and Bob Casey wins in a landslide, Trump's coattails are probably the longest in Ohio. If Trump wins by 8 or 9 points, that could do in Sherrod Brown, but
right.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, I think that's it, right?
Like that's really about it.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think quickly if there's anything. Georgia, those seats aren't up. Rick Scott's got a tough race in Florida, but I think that's just by virtue. It's kind of he's not winning by as much as he should. How's that sound?
That's right.
Ted Cruz in Texas.
Yeah.
Oh, Texas is going to go blue. I just don't think so. I think he's just not going to win by as much as probably people think he should.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a thin field this year.
Yeah. And it's just weird to me because this being so close to election day, usually that's when you're seeing, side by side, the hands, up in the air together, united front, the Republican side of the Democratic side. Not seing that as much this year.
I don't think Sherrod Brown wants Kamala to come to Ohio. I just think where Ted Cruz does want Donald Trump to show up, and we just don't know how many of how much does the economy trump the abortion debate?
Right.
Does immigration trump the abortion debate? So there's just so many factors, and people are going to go out and does housing trump them all? And the answer is yes. So that's it's just an interesting year, and it's going to be close. I know. Kamala Harris is jumped out kind of a 6-point lead over Trump on the overall. Yeah, that's fine. Joe Biden had the same thing. You will focus on the 7 swings. That's really what it is.
Exactly. All right. Well, man, we packed in a lot of
the Fed news is really important. I think that's we've been waiting for this for months, and now I think we can. There, not just a light at the end of the tunnel. I think we're coming out of the tunnel.
Excellent. All right. I know you're going to be traveling in earnest, even for you, the next couple of weeks. So it might be a while before we record our next podcast.
Yep.
Everyone stay tuned. We will be back, but I just wanted to give them a little bit of a heads up that it might take us a little bit longer and get close.
But we'll be in San Antonio for our leadership. We'll descend on San Antonio for our fall leadership meeting. Look forward to seeing everybody out there. Going to be a great meeting. We've got almost 1,000 people coming to San Antonio.
Crazy.
It's going to be a great opportunity to get together, network, but talk a lot about the election, talk a lot about housing, all the policies that we're interested in. Just gonna be a great meeting. So look forward to seeing everybody there in a couple of weeks.
And we got to do a shout out for the International Builder Show that registration is now open. So if you haven't done so already, get online. It's going to be a fantastic show.
It's bigger than last year already. Yeah,
it's
going to be great. We've got some great outdoor exhibits, some really cool stuff. I mean, really highlighting the innovation that's in housing now, right? I mean, that's what we have to talk about is really the product manufacturers, and the builder, just the innovation that we have in this industry, especially and now's the time, right? If we're getting ready to accelerate into a growth phase,
it'll be a need.
It's going to be a need, right? Because innovation helps reduce costs. Innovation helps reduce labor costs. There's a lot of good happening, and this show is going to be spectacular.
Yeah, definitely. All right, final shout out to our sponsor, LG Pro Builder.
Let's build the good life together. Thanks for being with us.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
With that,
until next time, I'm Jim Tobin,
and I'm Paul Lopez.
Bye.
Bye.